That's a hell of a win, man. This guy's legs, first of all, he's almost as old as I am, right? And his legs are smaller than mine, right? But we are so proud to have you in Buffalo, man. On that kick right there, welcome to Buffalo, man.
You gotta play this 60 minutes, man. All right, there's no quitting this team.
No.
Love y'all, boys.
Fantasy Football Happy Hour with Matthew Berry.
Happy Monday. Welcome to the Fantasy Football Happy Hour. That sound you heard was, yes, a very rowdy Buffalo locker room after a crazy Sunday Night Football finish. Josh Allen drinks for free for putting the team on his back in the fourth quarter. What a wild slate of games. And then you had the cherry on top for one that was insane finish.
Just a completely bonkers bananas game. On Football Night in America, myself and Jason Garrett were the only two that picked the Bills to win, and we were getting it from the rest of the cast for much of the game. We held tough.
So we often say you and Jason Garrett versus the world.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Me and Jason Garrett, me and Coach versus the world. There you go. Never in doubt. Never in doubt, I say.
No, I always count on a Derrick Henry fumble and a miraculous deflection.
Yeah, and 3 field goals from a guy that got there 2 days
Right.
ago.
And then the Ravens choosing to punt. That
was the weird decision.
Yeah, John Harbaugh got what he deserved. He got what he deserved.
Right.
That's a shocking
as soon as he made the decision, what did you think Josh Allen was going to do? You thought Josh Allen was just going to go quiet into the night?
Look, we'll get into fantasy in a second. I will, but look, I had a rooting interest in the Bills, obviously, because I picked them on national TV, and so I'm rooting for the Bills there. And by the way, Josh Allen, proud Fantasy Life investor, of course. So so I'm rooting for them, and I'm sitting there going, please punt, please punt, please punt, please punt, because he's got a choice. It's going to come down to one play, and he can either have the ball in Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry's hands, or he can give the ball to Josh Allen.
That's it.
It really boils down to that. Like, who if you're John Harbaugh, who do you want with a game on the line? Like, I'd rather take it with my guys. And then, by the way, you still have 3 timeouts, and then it's in midfield. Like, if they don't get it, anyway.
If you don't get it, you don't definitely lose the game.
Exactly.
You
You might
get the ball back faster. The way
Right.
it unfolded, you've just sentenced yourself to it because now it's automatic death because if they do score, you're done because you're out of time because they got to drive down the field. I thought that was just it's incredible. Like, there was so much Twitter chat leading up to that about why are the Ravens ever throwing the ball? Like, why isn't Derrick Henry just running the ball every time? It's like, no, let's put the ball in Lamar Jackson's hands.
Right.
Give Lamar had those 2 drives at the end. He got 1 play. He got 1 play on 2 drives, which was the pass to Hopkins, which was short. It's like, no, how about we give Lamar Jackson multiple chances to win the game? That's why I love what Harbaugh did with Justin Herbert on Friday night, where,
the other Harbaugh.
Yeah, trying to run out the clock to win the game. No, let's call a pass play, first play. Let's do this.
Yes.
Let's just be aggressive and actually go and win the game. So credit to Josh Allen, credit to Sean McDermott, anti-credit to John Harbaugh.
This is a good question from Raise the Flags, and I'll let you two answer this. I can't judge my own.
Who has the better ankles, Matt Prater or Matt Berry?
Yeah, it's a good question.
You know what, actually?
Matt Prater today after that performance.
Everything that happened in that game, which was so ridiculous and one of the most just surreal football games you'll ever see, the fact that Kyle Hamilton didn't block the field goal, like in real time, Kyle Hamilton was like minus 1,000 to block that field goal. He got a hand on it.
Yeah.
The ball moved.
Right.
And so I just don't understand how it wasn't blocked. Anyway, that was just one of 8,000 things that was wild about that game.
And the other thing is that as awesome as a game as that was on NBC and Peacock, I'm a company man, as awesome as that game was, guys, I don't know that there's a ton of takeaways from it because it was such a bat blank crazy game.
It was a fantasy powerhouse game.
It was an insane game, right? And I mean, my Twitter blew up from people that like they were dead and they were done, and then all of a sudden they had Henry or they had Allen or they had Lamar or Zay Flower, so many superstars from that game, like including, by the way, Roto Pat, who I had Derrick Henry and I was feeling pretty good. But then Roto Pat and his Josh Allen.
The old Josh Allen trick.
Yeah. Well, oh, my God. Anyway, and of course, I had a 0 from Xavier Worthy. So, anyway, I'm 0-1 in the League of Assholes despite having like the 3rd or 4th highest score in the league because Roto Pat had Josh Allen. You just sort of see the fantasy goodness there as well. 6 different players over 20 points. Josh Allen, Lamar, of course. Derrick Henry mentioned Zay Flowers. But Keon Coleman and James Cook. Welcome to the party. It was nice to see Dalton Kincaid get into the end zone. And how about DeAndre Hopkins not not done yet. People had thought he was unbelievable. Josh Palmer with a nice debut for the Colts, for the Bills as well, I should say. So let's talk. It's just, I don't know what to make of this. I mean, Josh Allen threw for almost 400 yards. He threw 46 attempts.
Yeah, let's hear from Josh Allen on what was a wild game and Keon Coleman break.
Yes.
No one on the sideline blinked. Down 15 points, whatever we were, with 5-6 minutes left. Staying with it. Fans leaving, the stadium. You got to play this game for 60 minutes, and that's a really good outfit that we just played. And God willing, we take care of business how we're supposed to, and how we think we will. It's probably a team we'll see again. So, they're a greatly coached team. Hats off to them for having a really good game plan. But we stuck in there, and I'm just proud of our guys.
What about Keon? Everybody's talking about him stepping up this year. What about what he did for you tonight?
He stepped up for us. He made some good plays. Proud of him.
That didn't seem like that didn't seem like a full-throated endorsement. That was like, yeah, he stepped up.
I think he was exhausted. I think Josh Allen was exhausted.
The adrenaline finally wore off.
He might have been 24% target share. That was a team high. And 94% route participation for Keon Coleman. That was great. Got 2 end zone targets. It was 50% of the team's end zone targets. But if there's one concern here about Keon Coleman, guys, he had, of his 8 catches that he had in this game, 7 of them came in the fourth quarter when they were in crazy comeback mode. That's not how the Bills want to play the majority of the year. And that's not how they're going to have to play the majority of the year. They want to be more balanced. They want to be more run-heavy. Not a run-heavy team, but they want to be more run-heavy than they were last night.
Yeah, I think it's just, again, folds into the fact that I think there's a lot of small takeaways. Like, Dalton Kincaid looked spry and looked good and looked healthier as we expected him to be. James Cook got a lot of work in the receiving game. Again, a small thing. Like, Keon Coleman, so much of it was out of structure, these crazy plays. I do think it's a good sign that Keon Coleman, he seems to be on the same mental wavelength with Josh Allen on these crazy Josh Allen out of structure plays, which is not the easiest thing. But, yeah, I don't think that, going forward, it's like, yeah, Keon Coleman definitely locked in. Josh Allen's wide receiver 1 every single week. I think it's going to be a little dispersed.
But you know what? I do think that at least, again, the numbers are all inflated because it was just a bizarre game. I mean, like, 81 points are scored in this game. Like, I can't imagine what the over-under was 50. Right. It's like 51.5. So, I mean, like, I wondered if you've taken an alt line of like over 80, what kind of odds you would have gotten there. But what I will say is that we did get it's going to be Coleman and Palmer on the outside and Shakir in the slot, right? Palmer and Shakir each get 9 targets. Coleman gets the 11. Again, those numbers are inflated because they were so pass heavy, but like that's going to be the thing. I mean, Kincaid, even in a game in which he passed almost 50 times, Kincaid got 4 targets. I mean, so I do think the passing game, at least we got some narrowness to, and Curtis Samuel was out, but still, like, it feels like at least we have a better sense of what the Bills' passing attack is.
I think the big thing for all these Week 1 games is like how an offense's usage and who gets usage in a given game is so much dictated by the opponent, and we've only seen one opponent for each of these teams. Like, Josh Allen was just going after whoever Jay Alexander was on. And it's going to be hard for Dalton Kincaid when he's going up against a team that has Roquan Smith and Kyle Hamilton patrolling the middle of the field. So let's see what it looks like, next week against the Jets.
I think one we can question, though, a little bit in this game right now, Jay, is Mark Andrews at this point, because now we're starting to get a larger sample size of just, is Mark Andrews just not that guy in terms of how much you can count on him as a tight end in fantasy anymore?
Yeah, I think that, look, it's suddenly a crowded pass-catching room, which the thing was, it wasn't for Mark Andrews for so long. His competition, when he was peak Mark Andrews, was like Devin Duvernay. But now it's like, all right.
Sammy Watkins.
Yeah.
Nelson Aguilar.
Exactly. Yeah. Just the revolving door of Lamar Jackson's wide receivers. Hollywood Brown was like the big competition.
Yep.
And now it's like, okay, well, Zay Flowers looked incredible. Rashad Bateman has taken a huge leap as a player. Isaiah Likely is going to come back. DeAndre Hopkins is going to be a real part of this offense. And then also they have possibly the best running back in football, the fumble notwithstanding at the end. So this offense is just completely loaded. I think that there are weeks where Mark Andrews will have good games and explosive receptions, but I don't think that he is a guy that you want to count on week in, week out.
I mean, look, for as crazy as the game is, Lamar Jackson only attempted 19 passes, but, he was targeted once on 15 routes. Mark Andrews was 5% target share, had a under 70% route participation, played 76% of the snaps. And by the way, one of my bets, part of my parlay on Football Night in America, one of the legs was 4 receptions for Mark Andrews. Obviously, that didn't cash. the argument that I made was like he had a 22% target share last year when Isaiah Likely was out, the 4 games that Likely missed. And in this game, he got a 5% target share. He is a touchdown-dependent tight end, and there's a lot of them, right? But, I mean, that's basically all he is. If you're starting Mark Andrews, he needs to get in the end zone for him to pay off. Anovax Card says Mark Andrews will get his. He was open a few times last night. He was, but so were other guys. To the point is there's a lot more competition for targets on a team that wants to run and can run. That's the problem here with Mark Andrews.
It's a matchup that you actually like because if you're going to look at weaknesses of the Bills, sometimes it is the middle of the field. They've had some problems at safety, so this is definitely one to keep an eye on, and you might have to make a quick pivot early in the season. Let's keep it rolling here, guys. We got a lot of games to go through.
If I was redrafting, Mark Andrews would not be in my top 10 tight ends.
We're going to go through Weekend Warriors and Sunday Scaries, but how about the well-anticipated shootout known as Jets-Steelers at MetLife? The over-under for this game closed at 37.5. They exploded past this as the quarterbacks stand atop the scoreboard there. Justin Fields, Aaron Rodgers throws for 4 touchdowns. Of course, one was a pop pass to Jonnu Smith because Arthur Smith will never quit Jonnu Smith.
No.
But before we get into any of this, let's hear from Aaron Rodgers on beating the Jets. Sound that I didn't put in the rundown, but our producing team did.
Interesting.
You spoke about the meeting with Aaron Glenn on McAfee a few months ago. Beating him, is there significance in that since he basically told you to your face that he didn't think you were right for that team?
Yes, that's what he did.
So there's significance in beating him for you?
I was happy to beat everybody associated with the Jets. There were probably people in the organization didn't think I could play anymore, so it was nice to remind those people that I still can.
I will say, bitter Aaron Rodgers is a fun Aaron Rodgers.
I go the other way. I'm a big Seahawks fan next week. The Seahawks crush him. Honestly,
I'll join you on that.
I much prefer. That's honest. Give Aaron Rodgers credit. That is 100% honest.
Yes.
That is.
He's always going to say, he's not going to mince words at the podium.
What did the Jets do to him again? I don't understand.
Gave him Nathaniel Hackett, gave him Alan Lazard, gave him everything he could have ever asked for. Randall Cobb.
Randall Cobb stood by him while he tore his Achilles on the 4th play.
Still paying Alan Lazard, by the way.
Yeah.
He was inactive, but he still collects the check.
No, he's upset at them because they told him they didn't want him back this year.
Yeah, he wasn't happy with how the meeting went with Aaron Glenn.
Right. That's what it is. Which is fair.
That's fine.
Which is fair. No, 100%. No one likes to be fired, which is what he was. Right. And so. But there you go. Jay Stab saying exactly what you just said, Connor. Aaron Rodgers acting like he didn't waste 2 years of the Jets' time and made them sign all of his friends.
Aaron Glenn's got one shot at this, and he wasn't down for the Aaron Rodgers experience.
I don't blame him.
And Aaron Rodgers has a fresh start with Pittsburgh that's off to a great start.
Yeah.
Right? The question I have for you,
yes, sir,
to pivot back to fantasy, he throws for 4 touchdowns. Is this news or noise?
I think this is noise.
Me too. This is probably his best fantasy game of the season.
I think it is. I mean, his average depth of target was under 5 yards. Now, again, I've said this. I think fantasy-wise, Arthur Smith drives us crazy. But I actually, I said this last year that Jonnu's. By the way, I was right on Jonnu Smith and Kenneth Gainwell, who played the most snaps of any running back. By the way, and so, but my point is that Arthur Smith actually calls a good game. I actually think he's a good offensive coordinator. He drives us crazy for fantasy.
Right.
But in terms of what we said is if he'll play if he'll play within structure, meaning if Aaron Rodgers plays within structure and they run the ball effectively and set up play action here. But no, I mean there was a lot of stuff after the catch in terms of this, and no, I think we've seen Aaron Rodgers' best fantasy game of the year. Justin Burke saying by this dip, Jonnu will be a top 8 fantasy tight end this year. I agree. But I mean, again, to the point of Arthur Smith drives us crazy, the wide receiver that had the most routes was Calvin Austin.
Right.
It wasn't DK Metcalf.
I think the nice thing is we're actually starting to finally figure out Arthur Smith.
Yeah.
We saw value in Jonnu Smith. We saw a little value in Kenneth Gainwell. Calvin Austin, they were targeting Brandon Stevens at will, which is the right choice.
Yeah, indeed. I think that it was good. Rodgers was definitely played well, but I didn't think that he played, he had a pass rating close to 150. I don't think he played that well. To your point, Matthew, about the yak, it was all yak. He had negative EPA through the air. It was
His
all
QBR was 62.
Yes. So I think with Rodgers, probably is his best game. He still can't really move. He had tried to escape pressure once and throw what should have been a really bad pick that was dropped. He got sacked 4 times. Like, I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be a fine quarterback, but this is almost certainly, very likely, his best game of the season.
Yeah, they lucked out in this game. I mean, so Boswell hits a 60-yarder. He's a very good kicker. So but again, to set that up, they get the,
triple deflection.
The triple deflection, right? DK Metcalf pops it up, somebody pops it back, DK catches it. So, yes, to your point, he doesn't run. Much rather have Justin Fields, who does run, who actually had a better QBR than Aaron Rodgers does, which is an ESPN stat on a scale of 1 to 100. His QBR was 79.5 compared with just 62 for Aaron Rodgers. Jacob Lund wants to know, is Justin Fields a top 5 fantasy quarterback going forward? I don't know that he's top 5, but I think he's like top 8. I had him at QB 9 going into the preseason. He was on the preseason love list, and this is why. He is somebody that every time he starts, all he does is produce fantasy points.
Here's the thing, though, like some of the guys who are going ahead of Fields, Patrick Mahomes, who doesn't have any receivers anymore, Bo Nix, who looked horrific yesterday. I'd rather have Justin Fields than Bo Nix. Mahomes, we'll see. Still rather have Joe Burrow over Justin Fields, so I can't get him into the top 5, but I mean, he's knocking on the door of 6, 7, I reckon.
He's a legit QB1, a legit starting quarterback in the NFL. And Connor, we were talking about this before the show, but Breece Hall, who a lot of people, and I'm raising my hand right here, kind of wrote off in the preseason like he's injury prone, they're going to throw to him. He looked awesome.
He looked as good as he's looked in years, Breece Hall. But the funny thing is, Breece Hall has this great game. The Jets' line was awesome, even without Elijah Vera-Tucker. Breece goes over 100 rushing yards, which he doesn't typically do anymore. He looked fresh. His touchdowns were all vultured by Justin Fields and Braylon Allen. So it's not that Breece looks great, and this might be Breece's best career year. But in fantasy, that might be sustainable. The 2 runs for Fields were designed. One was a sneak, and one was the play-action rollout where he walked to the pylon. They love Braylon Allen down at the goal line. So you almost
is Breece Hall a sell high? I mean, because I think fantasy managers will be looking at this, and like, he had this monster game.
Depending on what you can get.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I worry about this being the problem this year. Breece is great in real life. He's great for the Jets. But does he need to run for 100 yards and catch a couple passes to have a standard fantasy day while Fields and Braylon Allen are stealing his touchdowns? And if Fields scrambled for one of those touchdowns, I'd be like, yeah, that's a little fluky. Even though he can do that. But they're designed runs over and over again. So Breece was awesome. I just think he might be capped in fantasy if he doesn't score touchdowns consistently.
Yeah, for a team that put up 34 points the way the Steelers did, I don't know that there's a lot of fantasy takeaway. I mean, we tried to warn you on Caleb Johnson.
He's returning kicks.
He's on special teams. He got 1 carry. If you out there have Caleb Johnson, it's your own fault because we could not have been more clear about what this backfield was going to look like here. And I do think better days are ahead for Kenneth Gainwell and Jalen Warren in that run game there as well.
Julio,
Garrett Wilson, just amazing.
Yeah. Julio, I think you are a question here. Is Braylon Allen matchup dependent, and is it Breece's running back room is the clear RB1? I think yes to the latter. To the former about Braylon Allen, I don't think you're comfortably starting him unless you're in a bye week disaster.
Yeah.
Right now, Fields and Breece just have too much equity with this team right now. You would need Breece to get hurt to start Braylon Allen. Isaiah Davis got a couple carries.
Yeah.
So, and then, like you said, Matthew, Garrett Wilson, it's just so obvious how much he's going to be targeted.
Last note here, Alan Lazard still on the Jets payroll, a healthy scratch.
Yes.
Yes. He got to
Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, exactly. He got to sit in street clothes and watch Aaron Rodgers just destroy his team. So the last thing I'll say here is obviously on fantasy, but just if I'm a Jets fan, tough loss, but I have to feel like we have a quarterback.
It's the best the offense has looked in quite a long time.
We have a quarterback. That
So
loss wasn't on Justin Fields at all.
Couldn't ask more from him.
No, exactly. Garrett Wilson, got to hang on to that ball.
They have the Bills next week, which Jets-Bills, sounds crazy, could be a shootout. You could love both sides of the offense on that
For sure.
Yeah, I think there's a reasonable chance the Jets finish second in that division.
Well, that's going to take us to our next game. That was a disaster for the Miami Dolphins as the Colts and Daniel Jones pretty much did whatever they wanted in this game. And we're going to, as you see the score leaders here, Daniel Jones at the top, Michael Pittman, Tyler Warren had a really good game. Before we get to any of this, we heard from Tua on what was just, quite frankly, an embarrassing day for Miami.
I would say this was a lack of a lot of things today. I can speak more so on the offensive side as we were trying to get things started, get things rolling. That's just not how you start the game. Interception, We come back out the next drive, turn the ball over with a strip sack. Next drive, we just can't get anything going. So, how do you build off of that is what we're looking forward to.
I mean, not much life there.
It's difficult. I mean, you never want to overreact to one game. That was a 0th percentile performance from the Miami Dolphins. They look like, and there was a lot of concerns coming into the season.
Sure.
They got all these injuries. Like, didn't end great last year. Like, could this be the disaster team? They certainly looked like it yesterday, Matthew. Just everything was broken about the offense. Tua looked bad. Tyreek Hill did not look like Tyreek Hill. Jalen Waddle got hurt and then comes back. Devin Achane gets some stats. It just overall, I think that there's still too much talent here, and I still trust Mike McDaniel enough that I think they're going to bounce back, but I don't know what that looks like. I don't think this is an elite offense by any means.
So I'll tell you a couple of things here. I think there's a scenario. We'll see. They're home to the Patriots next week. So, I mean, that's potentially a win because the Patriots did not look good.
No. Dolphins are 1.5-point favorites there, which is pretty stunning that they're favored in the NFL game after yesterday, but the Patriots didn't look great.
That just goes to show you, so that'll be really telling. Again, a home opener against a team that they should beat, that they're favored to win, right? But also, if they're 1.5-point favorites, it means basically they're saying they're a pick 'em with New England, right? Basically. Who Geno Smith came in and carved up yesterday, so we'll talk about that in a little bit. We'll get into this more tomorrow on the waiver wire show, but I'm just going to say this. I think the Dolphins are a tear-down situation. Again, I think this is going to be we'll see how it plays out, but my expectation is, based on what we saw yesterday, and I don't know, the offense will be better. Tua will be better. They just have too much talent on offense, but the defense just, the Colts had their way with them, right. and we wondered this going out of the preseason, who's playing defense for these guys because they've had so many injuries. I think Tyreek Hill has a very real chance to be this year's Devontae Adams, where, in a couple of weeks when they realize, hey, this ain't going our way, we've got to tear it all down and restart. Why wouldn't Kansas, right? That's so obvious, right?
Yes.
I mean, they brought back Kareem Hunt. Why wouldn't the Chiefs bring back Tyreek Hill? They clearly need a wide receiver, right? And so you bring back Tyreek Hill, and so this is why we'll talk about it tomorrow on the waiver show, but Malik Washington should be a priority on waiver wire because I think he's going to be a factor at some point this season. Trap X Nation says Tyreek Hill to the Chiefs like he never left, 100%. So I wouldn't bail on Tyreek Hill here, but just, we'll get into this story, but they looked awful. 3 turnovers, 3 sacks. They had only 12 first downs. Do we think the Colts defense is that good, or is it they're just that inept?
I think the Colts defense actually will be
better than
average. Like Lou Anarumo, who I think was just scapegoated in Cincinnati because they had to get rid of someone because they just didn't have any talent on defense. Lou Anarumo is a respected defensive coordinator, super creative, does a lot of funky stuff. I think they've got more talent. They have a good defensive line. Charvarius Ward comes in to be CB1. I think that defense is going to be above average, or the 14th best defense or whatever.
Sure.
But the Dolphins, Connor, I think we've seen enough from Tua across his career. We know Tua is a good quarterback. He's not a bad quarterback. And if you have a good quarterback with weapons, then you can't be this bad consistently. But there might just be something in the water in Miami.
That's where I kind of go to. At what point, I know this is dangerous to say after week 1, but there's a lot of bad quotes this offseason. At what point is this team just starting to quit on Mike McDaniel? Yeah. You have another one like this, and that's going to be the narrative. Whether you agree, believe it, don't believe it, it just feels, there was a lot of bad Tyreek Hill quotes this offseason. It's a team that's dealt with a lot of injury on defense over the years to core players that are trying to work back. They have problems on the back end. The offensive line is in a transition this year.
Yep. And by the way, just look at their upcoming schedule. So if they don't beat the Patriots, their next game is they're at Buffalo, and then they're home to the Jets. So, there's a real scenario. They're 0-4.
And
or
3
they're
division games.
Right. 3. Right. So it's just this could get really ugly really quick. On the Colts side of the ball, guys, you see their schedule. They have the Panthers at week 5. Okay, fine. They're at the Panthers at week 5. But then week 6, home to the Chargers. Week 7 at the Browns. That's not going to be an easy game. Week 8 at the Falcons. And then week 9, a short week, the Thursday night game against the Ravens. Week 10, they play the Bills again. And then they got to go to Madrid to play my Commanders before they get to a bye.
He might not make it to that.
That's there's a rare real chance they're 3-7, heading into the bye or whatever it is. They're 4-7.
Yeah. To give context as well in terms of a potential teardown, in terms of odds on next coach to lose their job. It's like Mike McDaniel tier 1. Like it's basically Mike McDaniel versus the field versus the other 31 coaches in a head-to-head pick'em. So yeah, I think that that's definitely trending in the wrong direction.
Yeah. Talk about the Colts side of the ball, though. I feel like for the most part, we were right. There's one thing but like
Tyler Warren.
Yeah. I mean, Tyler Warren, 100%, 31%.
What, you called this Daniel Jones thing?
Yeah, no.
Was I not the Daniel Jones guy?
I was saying we. I said we. I was actually going to give you credit.
Okay. Well, I don't reckon you were until
I love that fight over claiming Daniel Jones.
Blaming him.
No.
He's basically peak Peyton Manning.
I don't know about that, but Daniel, look, we've talked about this on the show, and credit to you. You've also said this as well. You've talked about this, and I think you actually said it on Fantasy Football pregame yesterday as well, that we thought Daniel Jones would be competent here. That he's actually a very good fit for Shane Steichen's offense. This is somebody who has had a top 10 fantasy quarterback season on his resume. Is he a top 10 fantasy quarterback? No. But is he competent enough? Is he viable in a 2-quarterback Superflex league? 100%. And is he good enough to get the ball to the guys that we care about? Yes. Anthony Richardson ain't getting that job back anytime soon, barring injury.
And just the way to look at it is you're not betting on Daniel Jones per se. You're betting on Shane Steichen through the Daniel Jones vessel.
That's exactly
and Shane
right.
Steichen, again, was the guy who got the initial career season out of Jalen Hurts, was the guy who took Gardner Minshew to 9-8 and one catch from winning the division. I just think that there is enough out there to believe that Shane Steichen is one of the best offensive minds in the NFL.
Could not agree more.
How about this one from Johnny Dangerly? Danny Dimes or Dak going forward?
Still Dak.
Yeah, I still like Dak as well.
Still Dak. But I get the question. I get the question. Warren, 31% target share. They only threw the ball into the red zone 3 times. 2 of them went to Tyler Warren here as well. But the one thing I did think that Josh Downs would have a bigger role than he did, and he didn't in this one. Josh Downs just 2 for 12 on 3 targets. Michael Pittman more involved than I thought he would. 8 targets, 6 for 80 as well. Pittman had a 27% target share. No other Indianapolis wide receiver was over 11%. So I do think, again, we're always looking for clarity. It's Pittman and it is Tyler Warren. I love Josh Downs, and again, it's only one game. You don't want to react too much, but bummer. Also, by the way, I had Jonathan Taylor in my. I did the touchdown draft with LeBron. I ended up winning, no big deal, just saying. But I got screwed out of Jonathan Taylor was one of my guys, and should have had at least one touchdown, and they gave it to Daniel Jones on the tush push twice.
I would say just one thing. I would try and trade for Jonathan Taylor today because I think people will be disappointed because he only had 71 rushing yards, didn't get into the end zone. DJ Giddens got a lot of carries towards the end. He played 100% of the snaps in the first half, and Daniel Jones looked really good. He is going to be a true workhorse back on what I think is going to be a decent offense that is going to primarily rely on him.
Especially because, by the way, and if you need to wait, go ahead. They play they're Denver next week and then at Tennessee. So they got 2 tough run defenses the next 3 weeks. So I just think over the next couple of weeks, Jonathan Taylor is going to be a great buy low candidate.
To be fair, against Denver last year, he did run into the end zone against them. Didn't score the touchdown as he entered the end zone, but did have a breakaway touchdown.
Our next game, guys, turned a little bit of a rock fight here between the Bengals and the Browns. A very bizarre game, or maybe not so bizarre if you expected the Bengals to once again get off to a slow start. The leading scorer, yes, that is Dylan Sampson, and then a very small drop down to Club Said is back and better than ever. Harold Fannin getting in on the action, and then the 2 Bengals in Chase Brown and Noah Fant. Probably not the Bengal you expected to hear at the top of that board in Noah Fant. Let's hear from the Bengals in general on another slow start and some struggles on offense.
I left 2 plays out there. You know what I'm saying? I dropped one and I didn't get my feet down on the other, so I'm not upset, but, I feel like I left something out there. I've been here long enough to know this whole year is a roller coaster. The first game is going to be a roller coaster. It's sports. At the end of the day, I just got to, be me, be myself, and provide for the team.
Defense stepped up. The first half, we were really rolling on offense. And then, it feels like we barely got a first down in the second half. So we got to get that fixed.
Bengals just kind of have these random games. I don't know why.
Especially in week 1.
Yeah. Always week 1. That's the point.
Yeah, even still, like Joe Burrow, they'll just have these like even last year towards the end of the season, like Burrow was amazing in the second half of the season, but like had a bad game in the last week against the Steelers. They just have these random games that pop up. They do tend to be earlier in the season. I think this is mainly just Myles Garrett, who is still probably, along with Micah Parsons, the best defensive player in football, going up against a very suspect offensive line. Just kind of wrecked everything. If I'm a Bengals fan, I'm happy Joe Burrow got out of that game alive with the way that Myles Garrett was coming. They got sacked on 3 plays in a row. And I think that you just throw this one out, happy to bank the win, and that they'll be fine going forward.
His last 3 Week 1 games, Joe Burrow averages 6.7 fantasy points per game. He's got 1 total touchdown pass. Jamar Chase under 10 fantasy points in each of his last 3 Week 1 games. T. Higgins, you think about the 2 Week 1 games against Cleveland 2023, and then this year, 33 total yards. He didn't play in 2024 Week 1. So I just they start slow. It's just it's the weirdest thing in the world. There's no real takeaway. Like you're
sitting them.
You're gonna be fine with it. I think the more interesting story, like we know what Cincinnati is. Whatever. Noah Fant got loose for one. Whatever. We know what Cincinnati is. Chase Brown I thought was really good as well. Team had 25 running back touches. 23 went to Chase Brown as well. He got all the team's red zone rushes. Chase Brown is going to be exactly what you drafted him to be, which is an RB1. I think the more interesting conversation here is Cleveland. Comeback player of the year, Joe Flacco. I thought, jokes aside,
looked pretty good.
Looked pretty good.
Yeah, he looked
Now, he was
good.
going against the Cincinnati Bengals defense, but still.
He was ripping it, though.
Yeah.
Like, he's still got his arm. That's definitely never going to go away.
No, and that's what we want from Joe Flacco. We want slinging Joe Flacco. This is what we talked about here. Now, the weird part is who he slung it to, right? So I thought David Njoku had a big game. He had 6 targets, 3 for 37, but it was Harold Fannin, who we've talked a little bit about that he's rising up. But Connor, are you surprised to see this out of Fannin, the rookie out of Bowling Green?
This early, yeah, because you have Njoku in front of him.
Yeah.
There's other mouths to feed in the offense. I know they used the top 100 pick on Fannin, and he was one of the rare tight ends that was the focal point of his college offense. College tight ends, typically, the only 2 I could think of in the last couple of years that are notable, Trey McBride and Harold Fannin. Trey McBride in the Colorado State offense, Harold Fannin in Bowling Green's offense, some action. They were the guys. So it's not shocking because he's done it before, but it's a little surprising this early.
Yeah, and again, it was against the Cincinnati Bengals defense, but certainly we'll talk about Fannin a lot tomorrow, I'm sure, as we will with Dylan Sampson. So we got news over the weekend that Quinshon Judkins had signed. He was not active for this game. So it was Dylan Sampson and Jerome Ford. We thought Ford would be the guy, and he was not. Sampson got more of the carries, didn't do much, 12 for 29 in this one, but really, he was really involved in the passing game. 8 for 64 on 8 targets, got every ball that went to him. He out-touched Jerome Ford 20-7. He had a 19% target share, but only played 45% of the snaps.
Right.
Are you surprised that Sampson got this much work in the passing game?
A little bit. It's something he did well at Tennessee. I just didn't think we'd see this week 1 where it's constant. My take on the Cleveland backfield is, in a matter of time, Judkins is just going to be the guy, and these guys are going to be kind of afterthoughts. With the premium pick they spent on Judkins, how they're going to use him, because Sampson is not going to get any carries when Judkins is ready, so then you need the 6 catches. And maybe if the Browns are playing from behind a lot, but they might play a lot of games like this that are just ugly.
Yeah, just ugly fights. The last thing we'll say here, Club said, always
Cedric
open.
Tillman is good. I don't know what I know it's been a running joke on this for a while, but Cedric Tillman is a really good player. He's a nice possession receiver. He's a big body player that catches touchdowns that's repeatable. So if you took Cedric Tillman for free at the end of your draft, good for you. You got a flex option if you really need one.
Over his last 5 full games dating back to last season, averaging 18.1 fantasy points per game.
That's crazy.
Club said, always open.
All right, let's move over to Packers-Lions here, and this was a game that the Packers controlled for the most part, honestly, at home. Jordan Love played really well. I know the fantasy numbers don't always show that at the top, but Jordan Love played well. Micah Parsons had a huge sack at the end of this game in his Packers debut. Jahmyr Gibbs was solid, but kind of an uninspiring day from the Lions offense, and we got to hear from Jared Goff and Coach Campbell on exactly that.
I think really we just never, if you're talking about the 60 minutes of offensive football, we really never got in a rhythm. You know, we did for a couple of drives, man, where we got it down there and then we didn't finish. You know, we weren't able to finish with 7. We had to settle for 3, then we have an interception. But other than that, we just never really got in a rhythm.
Yeah, we'll move forward fine. We will. We've got good players. We've got good coaches. We'll be fine. It's just there needs to be a urgency of improvement. You know, it has to be. And today wasn't even close to good enough, I think, offensively. And we got a lot of work to do.
I'm going to be honest, guys. My takeaway from this game with the Lions, and this is probably under the category of week one overreaction, not a good start for John Morton, especially when Tanner Engstrand on the Jets staff looked really good. We'll see what Ben Johnson can do tonight, and they couldn't keep Ben Johnson, but this was the big decision to make, to put John Morton in that seat, and it just didn't look like the Lions offense we have known to grow and love.
Yeah, it's almost as watching that game and watching their offense made me feel compelled to bet the Bears to win tonight, right? Because it's almost like correlated, where it's such a statement on what Ben Johnson potentially means. Now, look, it's week one. So just in general, you need to diminish at least, like the emotional reaction is that week one is going to be what you're going to see every week. They will get better. They have too much talent to really fail. But I think it's a red flag, Matthew, particularly that they couldn't run the ball at all. That's been the identity of this team.
Gibbs and Montgomery combined to average 2.2 yards per carry. I mean, like 11 for 25 on Monty. Gibbs 9 for 19. Like, you know, they did 20 rushing attempts, you know, and had under 45 yards. You know, and so it was brutal. And then the other thing is just about how impressive this Packers defense was, or how uninspiring this Lions offense was, and it's kind of a little bit of both. I thought this stat line was the most telling. Jahmyr Gibbs caught 10 balls for 31 yards.
Yeah,
like, do you know how hard it is to catch 10 balls? If you're Jahmyr Gibbs, like, and you've got that kind of speed in the open field, right, and that kind of ability to catch 10 different balls and only get 31 yards?
Yeah,
like, that's one of the most insane stat lines I've ever seen, especially given the player involved.
Yeah, I think that like, rose-tinted glasses, you'd say, okay, week one, new system is going to be growing pains, and there's a chance, Connor, like the Packers could have the best defense in football. Like, that's on the cards. Like, that defensive line, Rashawn Gary looked awesome. Lucas Van Ness, that's the best that he has ever looked.
Totally agree.
Devontae Wyatt was great. Oh, you have Micah Parsons, who's still ramping up. Edgerrin Cooper might be one of the 3-4 best linebackers in the league.
Like a
one of
Fred
the best
Warner
safeties.
came from him.
Yeah, like, so this defense, like, the corners aren't great, but it doesn't really matter that much if everyone else is absolutely amazing. So
they're getting home and you don't have time to throw. Right. Like, it doesn't matter what they're doing on there.
Especially with Goff, that isn't going to escape a lot of those.
Yeah. So, Mike, it's a Victory Monday, so I'm wearing, obviously, 5. But we play the Commanders. We play the Packers on Thursday night. We're at Green Bay. That's the Thursday night game. I am worried. The weird part is, so I'm nervous about the Lions offense. I agree with you. I think you clearly missed both coordinators, right? You clearly saw that Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn both very missed on the Detroit side of the ball. But the only thing I'll say here is that I don't know what you do about it fantasy-wise. Like, you're not getting rid of Amon-Ra St. Brown or either the running backs or Laporta. Laporta had a solid game, 6 for 79 here as well. You know, I mean, maybe you wait to see something from this offense before you start Jameson Williams or Jared Goff. I thought Goff looked bad in this game as well. So it's just it's weird. For as dominant as this game was, you know, and whatever, you know, I mean, Goff's numbers look better than they actually were because he gets a touchdown at the very end, like Tesla with an amazing catch.
Sick catch.
Yeah, but then on the other side of the ball, like, is there the only thing I could take away that might change your opinion here is that, like, you know, kudos to you, Jay, because you set all presets and you thought Jordan Love, you know, a fully healthy Jordan Love could be a very big fantasy factor. This is the guy that was going like quarterback 18, 20 in drafts, and I thought Jordan Love looked very much the part.
He did, and that's the thing. Is last year he was dealing with injury from week one, where he does his MCL against the Eagles on the turf in Sao Paulo, and then he hurts his groin later on, and then his elbow in the final week before the playoff game against the Eagles. I think that when he is healthy, when he's been healthy since the second half of 2023, he has played at an MVP level. He's been hyper efficient, and the thing that he does, Connor, is that he generates explosives through the air. He takes shots down the field, and so for fantasy purposes, it's just like, what do we do with all these receivers? Because there's so many of them. To me, the most interesting guy is still Matthew Golden, who wasn't out there a ton, but he is the guy who I most want, just he has the most scope to expand.
Yeah, to me, it's ironically still Tucker Kraft.
Sure.
Who only had 2 catches, but he catches the touchdown. He's just always out there.
Yeah.
That's the difference. I mean, Tucker Kraft had 83% route participation, but I think the most important point is one you did make all summer is Jordan Love is really good, and when he's healthy, it's just you probably don't want to play the roulette game of his receivers, but if you got Jordan Love or Tucker Kraft, you got a value at those position groups.
Yeah. Also, sneaky thing about Jordan Love as well, which doesn't matter so much for fantasy, but I think the point needs to be made because people don't talk about this enough. It is so valuable when you don't get sacked as a quarterback. Jordan Love never gets sacked. Josh Allen never takes sacks. It's just such a hidden value, and that allows them to stay on schedule, and so they can keep generating explosives through the air.
Two last things, then we'll move on. But to your point, I don't want to play roulette with these wide receivers. Matthew Golden, a 9% target share, just a 57% route participation for the first-round pick. That was shocking. Jaden Reed, I thought he was walking around on one foot, but Jaden Reed, 22% target share, had a 52% route participation. Again, it is mix and match. They also were dominating this game, so they didn't need to throw that much. We'll see what happens on Thursday night. They play after Washington. They're at Cleveland, at Dallas, and then a bye. So more to be told on the Packers, but great win for them. And I think we know you're starting Love and you're starting Love, Kraft, and Jacobs, and that's about it till further notice.
Our final game here, the Niners sneak one out against the Seahawks. That was quite the battle with a lot of injuries in this game. Somebody who wasn't hurt in this game and had over 30 touches was Christian McCaffrey, who goes for over 23 points. Jackson Smith-Njigba ends up with over 19. They're the standouts in this game, but we got to hear from CMC on all those touches after the win over Seattle.
Out of the 31 touches, do you have a sense of how your body's going to feel when you wake up tomorrow?
Oh, amazing. Yeah, it's a really good defense, man. I mean, you go to an NFL game, you never know, how it's going to play out. You just got to be ready for the ops, and we knew that was a good defense. They don't give up a lot of explosives, so some of them was just stick your head in there and try to get as many as you can and stay on the field. We had a lot of long drives, but overall, I was just happy we got that win. They're not all going to be pretty, but it was good to come out with a win.
I think I hate to ask this right after that, but you have to. Is McCaffrey now a sell-high candidate?
I think he is. There's a couple of reasons. Obviously, there's the health concern, and a lot of people are going to think it's alleviated because he got such a heavy workload. And look, he's always going to have the value because of the receiving, and he was amazing as a receiver. But to me, he did not look like Christian McCaffrey. I understand that the Seahawks have a good defense, but this team, when it's at its best, they generate a ton of explosives. He had 22 carries and none of them went for more than 13 yards. When he came back last year, all of his speed metrics were down across the board. He just didn't quite look, maybe he can build up and get it back, but he's supposed to be healthy now, and so I'm a little bit concerned there. Or like the rush yards over expectation, that stuff was very poor for McCaffrey yesterday.
At New Orleans, home to Arizona, home to Jacksonville. So maybe no, but to your point, like we got a question on Fantasy Football pregame Sunday morning that was something like, should I trade Christian McCaffrey for was Bucky Irving and like a wide receiver and Trevion Henderson? And we said yes, do that deal.
Yeah.
And so I mean, I wouldn't necessarily actively try to get rid of McCaffrey, but yes, if somebody's willing to offer you in essence market value, which at the moment number one running back in fantasy or top 3 running back in fantasy, I would certainly consider that because I'm with you. It just little concerning.
Niners feel very shaky. It's very shaky, just the injuries.
You lose Kittle really early. And
Jauan Jennings.
Yes.
Yeah, and I mean, they need help. By the way, Kendrick Bourne returning to the 49ers just got an alert as well. So, they're looking for people there. To me, the biggest, and we'll see what happens with Kittle, obviously. That was a tough one with a hamstring injury. I have a ton of Kittle this year. That is very upsetting. Jauan Jennings also leaves with an injury. To me, the biggest story from this game, however, is the running back room. We were on the other side of the ball in Seattle. We talked about this. We were concerned that, we don't know what's going on with this new offensive coordinator. There's a chance that Charbonnet, who looked good all through preseason, earns a bigger role, and that's exactly what happened. 12 for 47, looked better than Ken Walker, who just gets 10 for 20, I should say. It was a split down the middle in the backfield. They used Walker as a pass catcher. They didn't use Charbonnet, but still, this is a committee, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Ken Walker did not look good either when he was out there. Did not look like himself.
Probably banged up again.
Yeah, and they have trust in Charbonnet, so that does look like a genuine committee.
Charbonnet played 58% of the snaps compared to just 40% for Walker. Charbonnet 12 touches, Walker 13. Again, Charbonnet, the much better draft day value. And nothing that we saw yesterday from the Seahawks in a tough loss makes me think that they're going to go away from that. The other concern here is let's see what they do next week. But Cooper Kupp just might be done.
Yeah, that was grim.
It didn't look great.
JSN to the moon.
Yes. Couple injuries we're tracking all throughout the week. Xavier Worthy, of course, left the game extremely early. Drake London with a shoulder. Brock Bowers said that he's okay. He left the game with a knee injury. George Kittle did not come back into the game with the hamstring injury. Jauan Jennings left with the shoulder. Evan Engram with a calf injury. And Will Shipley, Saquon Barkley's backup that did get some work, is dealing with a rib injury. We're going to take our first break. When we're back, we got our Weekend Warriors and Sunday Scaries for you coming out of the first week with the NFL's return.
you know, when it gets to that situation, you know, we're down by 3, field goal to tie, we're shooting to kill. I mean, we want the win. That's just our mentality going into it. So, you know, field goal can be plan B, and that's cool. But, you know, we want 7. I think the only way that he's able to trust me is just doing it every single day in practice. So building that chemistry, building that trust. And, you know, when it comes to Sundays, we just let it rip, everything that we've been training for. So it's nothing we haven't done before in practice. It's the first time the world's seeing it.
That was Bucs rookie wide receiver Emeka Egbuka. No Chris Godwin, no problem, as Emeka Egbuka gets his NFL career off to a great start. 4 catches, 67 yards. He catches 2 touchdowns here, Matthew. Everything we thought he would be, knowing that Godwin's going to be down for a couple weeks.
94% route participation. Half of his targets came on deep passes. They weren't scared to chuck it deep to him, and they weren't scared to chuck it to him in clutch, important situations. So, you know, sometimes you see a performance on week 1, you're like, that was a little fluky. Emeka Egbuka is the opposite of fluky. Marvin Harrison Jr., Big Mech, I see you too.
Those Ohio State wide receivers yesterday were all phenomenal, it felt
Jackson
like.
Smith-Njigba.
Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
Obviously, we just talked about Emeka Egbuka. How about Marvin Harrison Jr., Jay? Great start to his second season. 5 catches, 71 yards. He gets the touchdown as well.
Yep. The main thing was just getting in the end zone. He looked explosive. Just the gap between him and every other wide receiver on the Cardinals is just such an enormous gulf. Kyler Murray looked okay. It was kind of a very strange game. Very happy with the effort from my plucky New Orleans Saints.
Yes.
They may be heard from, may be competent.
Right.
This year.
They may make the playoffs.
My boy Spencer Rattler put it on an absolute dime to your former hero Jauan Johnson, who dropped it in the end zone to tie it up late. Saints might be okay.
Harrison caught 83% of his targets. That was tied for the second highest catch rate in a game of his career. He looked better. He looked better.
Confident,
so,
a
little smoother.
100%.
I'll tell you who looked better was Deebo Samuel for your Commanders. Everybody's kind of wondering, is Deebo on his last legs
Yeah,
here?
there were some early camp photos. He sort of looked like fat Deebo.
Deebo's a guy that works off the weight throughout camp, and he's just on time in week 1. 7 catches, 77 yards. I think more notable was the rush for 19 yards on the classic Deebo jet sweep action, Matthew.
Also had looked like Deebo, right? Friend of the podcast multiple times, Deebo Samuel. They used him in creative ways. It was one of the reasons why we were excited when the Commanders got him, because he is such a fit for what Cliff Kingsbury wants to do on offense. Limited snap share for McLaurin in his first game back. Obviously, he missed a lot of training camp. But the fact that 6 of his 10 targets came from the slot for Deebo Samuel just sort of lets you know that, you know, they'll have McLaurin, they'll have Noah Brown, the other guys on the outside, but they're going to be really creative with Deebo Samuel. Not a fluke. Like, I don't know if the targets may come down a little bit when McLaurin gets more up to speed, but like the Commanders were exciting between Deebo and Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, him and Eckler. Chris Rodriguez a healthy scratch.
Jay, the Raiders happy they didn't listen to Jakobi Meyers' trade request. Nice start for him. 8 catches, 97 yards, almost 18 fantasy points without a touchdown for Jakobi.
Yeah, I thought the big thing, too, was Geno Smith looked great. He played really well in tough conditions against, so I think it'll be a solid defense in the Patriots, and Jakobi Meyers, the big beneficiary of that. Connor, your man, Michael Penix, who had an amazing touchdown run. I don't know how he kept his shin off the ground on that, but it was not like the deep ball throwing that we expected.
Yeah, it feels like the Bucs knew exactly what to do, and the good thing is the Falcons adjusted and took what was there. A more efficient day for Penix, 27-42.
A lot of yak.
For almost 300 yards is not typically what you'll see from Penix. You probably see less volume, some higher quality 3-point shots, but hey, the fact that he can adjust, Michael Penix is going to be a very good quarterback in this league for a long time.
Yeah, by the way, and like he had Drake London out there and then Ray McLeod.
Right.
Kyle Pitts got involved. I'm not
Bijan
buying that
had
just
the big
yet.
one off the dump pass.
Bijan had the big lot of yards after catch, but still, the fact of the matter is that Penix, by the way, very quietly, second rushing touchdown. He's got 4 career starts. He's got 2 rushing touchdowns. Not a big part of his game, but somehow he keeps finding his way into the end zone. But I agree with you, almost 300 yards, gets you 21 rushing yards with his legs as well. Falcons at the 7th highest pass rate in week 1 with not a lot of guys out there. I get that it's Tampa Bay and that's always a shootout, but still, I think Penix, interesting.
Sunday Scaries here, real quick. C.J. Stroud and Nico Collins, not their best day for this Texans offense as a whole. Stroud under 200 passing yards, Matthew. Nico Collins 3 for 25.
Stroud was pressured to the 6th highest rate in week 1. We thought that offensive line would be an issue. I'm not worried about Nico Collins. Just a bad day at the office. Calvin Ridley was on the hate list from last week's show. Rightfully so, right? We thought he'd be covered by Pat Surtain, and he was. Cam Ward pressured on 53% of his dropbacks. Better days ahead for the Titans offense. Terry McLaurin had an 89% route participation, just it wasn't there for him, and they didn't need to. The Giants never really threatened them. And then, of course, let's talk about Tyrone Tracy of your New York Fighting Giants.
10 for 24. He might have a new quarterback in 2 weeks. It's not good for the Giants. It's all trending south. 5.5-point dogs against Dallas, which is not a great sign.
The offense just looks bad. Like
the line
third
was
straight,
awful.
Yeah,
third straight opening day for the Giants without a touchdown.
That's great.
I mean, like it's not good. Jackson Dart can't get here soon enough.
Monday Night Football preview. Best bets right after this. DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly and $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube TV. Just download the Sportsbook app and use promo code FFHH when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours.
Crown is yours!
It's time for last call. Let's take a look at the most bet Monday Night Football props on DraftKings. A lot of Justin Jefferson ladder-style bets, all the way 50 to 70 plus. Caleb Williams passing yards, 220 plus. Roma Dunze, who I think is going to have a really strong sophomore NFL season at 40 plus. Jay, where are you going with this one?
Going to the Vikings run game, Jordan Mason over 39.5 rushing yards. He's set 11 yards lower than Aaron Jones, which I don't agree with. I think this will be a pure split. I think that Kevin O'Connell will want to lean on the run.
I agree with you. I think also in the pass game, they're going to want to lean on the tight end for the young quarterback. TJ Hawkinson going over 43.5 receiving yards. This line has slowly moved up throughout the week. I think everybody's kind of catching on. J.J. McCarthy is going to have to lean on that player in Hawkinson, who was really good when he came back.
I like both those bets. I was looking at a Mason line. I was looking at Hawkinson. You guys both took those. So how about Olamide Zaccheaus? That's right. I'm going with an Olamide Zaccheaus bet as well. You know, Zaccheaus had the most yards and receptions from Caleb Williams in the preseason. He had the second highest target share as well. They like him. He's the number 3 wide receiver in a game in which I think Caleb Williams will have to throw. The line was 21.5 at the start of the show. It's up to 23.5 now.
Everyone's buying
still taking over. Everyone loves Olamide Zaccheaus. So give me the over on Olamide Zaccheaus at 23.5 receiving yards tonight. Here are some of my ranks for the game tonight. I agree with you on Jones and Mason. I really need Aaron Jones to have a big game here. Hopefully gets the end zone. Should be a lot of Jefferson. Be interesting to see what the quarterbacks look like, guys.
Yeah, especially J.J. McCarthy. The lights are going to be bright for this one, but can Caleb Williams step up in year 2 as well under Ben Johnson? Boy, if Ben Johnson has a hot start, this division's going to get real interesting.
Ben Johnson plays next week, Detroit Lions.
That's right.
It should be a lot of fun. I also want to see what Colston Loveland does after Tyler Warren's hot start. Of course, Loveland drafted ahead of Warren. It's closing time. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. For Jay and Connor, I'm Matthew. Good luck tonight on your Monday Night Miracles. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace out.